In the last couple of lessons, we looked at handling client-side errors. So in this lesson, we're going to take a look at how we can handle server-side errors. If we go to a completely random route in our application, we get a 404 page, just as you'd expect, because the route doesn't actually match anything in our router. However, if we go to a route that matches, but doesn't actually exist, we'll get a different kind of error. This isn't a 404 because it actually is a valid route, but when we go to render the page, the component itself crashes. We can see in our lesson component here that we look for the chapter, but we assume that we found it. And then we go on to use that chapter to find the lesson. But if this chapter is null, then value doesn't exist and lessons don't exist. And so the page crashes. And that's why we have this 500 error here. So to handle this properly, we're going to check to see if we've actually found the chapter. And if not, we're going to throw an error. We'll use the create error method that we saw previously, but this time we'll pass an object to it so we can give it a status code as well as a message. We'll copy this and do a similar thing for the lesson. Now, if we refresh this page, we get this 404 chapter not found error. And although this is technically a 404 error because the chapter isn't found, this error originates from the server, not from the routing portion of the app. That's why it is not showing our 404 page. The router has successfully matched on our lesson route, but when it goes to render the page, that's when this error comes up. So it shows a server-side error instead. However, this error page is the default, and we want to be able to write our own custom error page. In order to do that, we need to add in an error component, but we add that in at the root, not inside of the pages directory. This is because the error component is not part of the router. This error page is shown whenever the server has an unhandled error. And so this is not part of the router, and so we don't put it inside of the pages directory. So we'll add in our page here, and we'll see that our custom error page is now being rendered. Note that we're using the Nuxt layout component here to use the default layout, or whatever it is that happens to be set at that time. We can also use the use error method in order to grab some details about the error that's being displayed. Now we see that it says chapter not found. So we're displaying the error, but like we showed in the client-side error handling, we also need to resolve this error and recover from it so that our user can keep using our application. So we're going to add in a button that the user can click in order to do this. Here, though, we're not going to use a button, but instead an anchor tag, because we will be going to a correct page instead, which we'll see in just a moment. In our handle error method, we are going to use the clear error method that comes with Nuxt. We're also going to use the optional redirect parameter to redirect to the first lesson of the course. Unlike what we did in the previous lessons on client-side error handling, we can clear the error and then navigate to a new page in one step here. And again, to point out that these methods, the clear error and use error method, operate on the server side error only, and they do not affect or work with the error variable that comes with the Nuxt error boundary component. So let's see this in action. If I click on this link, then we're brought back to the first lesson in the course, and we can go on our merry way, learning and enjoying this course. And if I go to a random lesson that doesn't exist, we'll see that we get the lesson not found error. And then we can recover from that as well. In our next lesson, we'll see a way in which we can improve upon how we handle these errors.